Welcome to Outside the Business Boxes podcast, where we're talking about how to ignite your business with systems, mindset, upgrades, pivoting for the future, and of course, marketing. I am your host, Chad Murray. Let's do this. Thank you for coming to Outside the Business Boxes podcast. I am Chad Murray, your hostess with the mostest. Today, I am here with Bill Ryan. He is a guy in the chimney industry that is sought after, knows a lot about everything in the code books, and has a successful business there on the East Coast. And I am proud to say he's becoming and hopefully become a better friend of mine. And we are here to talk about a lot of little different things today. I mean, we have two different, I think, I don't know about philosophies, but we have two different types of businesses in the chimney business. And, you know, I thought it'd be nice to come together and talk about it. Everybody has their way of thinking, and what's successful for some and not for others. So it just depends on who you are and what you want to do. So never to say, here we are. Bill, nice to have you on my podcast.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I can't wait to have this conversation because to me, you know, I mean, just to kind of sum up a little bit, you know, nobody knew who I was at all until 4 years ago. So here I am, this guy in Texas, has a, you know, fairly mid-sized, you know, maybe some people might say a larger business, especially the chimney business. Yet I didn't know anybody, you know.
Yeah.
I come out, I went through the training, became a business coach, certified, and I come out and started doing some events, did some stuff, which is a funny story. I have to talk with you. My first one I did, and I just started helping people, and then all of a sudden started getting the word out, you know, that, you know, hey, I'm for real. I'm not kidding. I want to help people, you know, and I think you have that same kind of spirit as well. So
100%, yeah.
So with you, I mean, Bill owns, you know, a chimney company, and he also has a consulting company. So tell us a little bit about you, Bill.
Well, I am a second generation chimney professional, and I never anticipated this being my career. I was working with my dad from the time I was 6 up through high school. He was getting to retire. He was a professional firefighter. He was getting ready to retire, and he was going to retire from everything. He didn't want to do chimneys anymore. And I had just finished high school, and I was doing really well, sweeping chimneys of friends' parents, teachers, anybody I can get my hands on that will let me in their house to sweep their chimney. Instead of working at McDonald's, I wanted to sweep 2 chimneys on a Saturday and make as much as my friends who were 20 hours at minimum wage somewhere else. And it just seemed the smart way to go for me. That morphed into, I ended up going to college very close to my home, but really close to where my dad's firehouse was. So the work truck was always available to me when I was at college. And so I started doing chimneys whenever I could in a different service area. And I was just word of mouth. And turned out I knew nothing because my dad was a fireman. You know, and everybody in our industry understands that, right?
Yeah.
But everything what not to do about fire and explosives, I learned from firemen by doing it. So with chimneys, it was the same way. I was a really good chimney sweep. My dad taught me to have pride in sweeping the chimney properly and all the right methods, all the right ideas, and even inspection before inspection was a thing. This is early 90s. And so I was doing super well, sweeping chimneys, doing crowns, caps, dampers. Along this journey, I was studying to be an attorney. Sooty Bob started putting out the talking newsletters, and I was relating to what Sooty was saying. They were making sense to me. Like, I could do much better than just sweeping and inspecting and putting on caps. And although his message was do what's right in front of you, but also look to the future, I just grabbed onto that. And I had a nice little epiphany moment in college. I was in a senior pre-law class, and the instructor said, "You're never going to be a good litigator." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
He told you this personally?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I said, "Why?" Because I win all the debates in class. And he said, "Yeah." He said, "But your problem is that you stick to it. You don't lie when you need to lie. So you will lose if you can't lie. And I just looked at him like, are you for real? He's like, you knew what you were getting into in this field, right? You have to set aside some things that personally you may believe in. And I had swept this guy's chimney. He's like, you'd be really good at that. And I'm like, I just paid 200 grand for an education. I'm gonna have to do an awful lot of chimneys to make up for it. But in the meantime, my life was pushing me towards chimneys, and I started to really focus on education. I was started to go to all the conventions, and lucky for me, the very first Northeast Regional Chimney Convention I went to was in 1995 in New Jersey, so I could drive there, and so that was a big deal. I was a kid. I walked into this not knowing what to expect from my trade, how I was going to be received as a kid, and I walked in there, and these people became my instant friends. Some of them became mentors, and I just grabbed onto everything they said, and I just started to learn and learn and learn. And a convention or two later, I got to meet Sooty Bob. For me, that was like a celebrity encounter.
Yeah.
I didn't treat it like that. I didn't fangirl on Sooty. We joke about it now because Sooty and I are friends now. Like we're friends, right? We talk, and it's odd for me. I said to my wife when Sooty and I had dinner, I said, hey, I had dinner with Sooty Bob, and so my career is complete, and she laughed. She's like, I remember when you fangirled. I never fangirled for Sooty Bob, but it was close, right? And then, and a real turning point for me in this industry was I got a name drop here because I have to, right? I went to Chris Pryor chimney fireplace restoration class in Canada at the Northeast Regional Convention in 1999. And it was like someone was showing me something I had no idea existed. And while they were showing me these techniques, all I could see was the dollar signs.
Yeah.
In a good way. I saw me advancing my business through something I knew nobody in my service area was doing. And so I started restoring chimneys, but focusing on fireplace restoration as early as March of 1999. And it was such a turning point for me that I created all kinds of systems to do that. And so off to the races I went. And in the meantime, in my personal life, we had our second kid, we were buying our first house. So things were moving on really strong. So they really worked hand in hand. They really, they paralleled my personal life and my professional life really just paralleled properly for me. That right after that, I went back to playing baseball. I was a baseball player in college, and I stopped playing for a little while to focus on growing my business. I went back to playing. I started coaching my oldest son. And so I was able to do things I loved, work in a job that I loved, and really build my personal life at the same time. And then by accidents, I was asked to speak in 2002 at a home inspector's one-day convention in New Jersey, and I was scared to death. I put together a presentation. It was the first time I had ever used a laptop. 2002. I had a computer, but the first time I had ever used a laptop. And I stood up in front of this room, not knowing what to expect. And everybody said, oh, these guys are going to tear you to shreds. If they think for a second they find a chink in your armor, you are done for. And I prepared and prepared and prepared. And I went and did an hour and a half class to a standing ovation. And I was 28 years old when that happened. And I said, well, I think I probably should be speaking a lot more and getting paid for it. And so that began that part of my life. So that's 21 years ago, which is amazing to me, almost to the month. It was May of 2002. So I started doing that for other trades, not in the chimney industry. I was teaching chimneys to code officials and home inspectors and realtors and plumbers, HVAC people. And I was just walking in, and people were just grasping everything I was saying and asking a lot of questions. And I said, boy, I kind of know what I'm talking about. I didn't know that until I started talking to other trades. And right inside of this, I'm going to name drop again. I took in 2001, I took the D&D. Jerry Eisenhower, Ken Robinson, and Tom Urban did a 2.5-day class. And it was a an add-on for me to the Chris Pryor class, because it was showing me how to do what I was doing, but how to sell it, how to, not in sales technique, but in inspection, inspect it right. And you're going to sell even more of these restorations.
Right.
So I started talking about that. And then I started trying to teach other people in the trade. Right around 2004, I met Mike Segerstrom, taught him some stuff. I went to the fire class, which changed me from a light trajectory to rocket launch. And that was kind of it. I never turned back. And 2012, Olympia Chimney Supply approached me and asked me if I want to teach a class for them. And I said, sure. I can't believe that I'm on year 11 of doing that for them, and traveling the country so much that I have status on airlines and hotels and all, and that's amazing to me, right? I never thought that would be my career. So the consulting thing came from that, meeting all these people and people saying, hey, I'd love to have you in my business. And I never thought about it. It was by accident. It was totally by accident. I said, yeah, sure. Started going to people's businesses and they were paying me for my advice and my observations. And I was helping them. And I didn't even know that I had that in me. I knew I could help them because my heart was in it, helping them. But I had no idea that people ran their businesses differently than I did. I just thought I'm going to show up and I'm going to be like, well, we're doing it the same. Here's a receipt. It wasn't like that at all. It was really, my consulting clients have been the beneficiary of me seeing them through different eyes. I'm able to separate that and tailor my advice to them based on their sweet spots, not mine, which I've had business coaches and I've had financial coaches, and they're very one-dimensional. It's their way. And if you ask them a question outside of their way, they're like, well, hold up. Maybe I'm not your guy. Hold on a second. You're my financial advisor. What do you mean you can't consider something else like this? Like I'm just, so I learned from failures with people that I had hired in my business that you got to be a little bit more accepting of what's happening in front of you and realizing that everyone doesn't live the life you do. And it's the same way in everything I do in my life, whether it's driving or coaching baseball. I coach baseball completely different than a kid coming out of college right now, but I coach completely different than the guys who coached me who are in their 70s now. So you just have to know yourself. And I coach each player differently based on their strengths and how I know they're receiving my message.
Well, it's funny. It's something that what this whole season I'm doing, if you want to call it a season on my podcast, it's the ability to pivot.
Yeah.
And part of coaching that I do, like when I first, like I just had a new discovery call with someone out of the convention last week, and they're like, "Okay, are you going to send me a program?" I said, "No, there's no program here. I mean, I know what I have, and what I would start with you may be completely different than the other 50 companies I've started with. And so we have to get into your roots and where you're at and where you guys are at mindset wise, and where do you actually need help that's going to financially help you right now, once we get the mindset correct to start building your, at least to get it to where it's stable." And so they're like, "Well, is there something we can do?" I said, "No, next week we start. There's nothing you can do, because when I first start with you, first I have to get know your company. And then I've got to get your mindset right, because I just can't go tell you to do stuff. Because if I don't get your mindset right, all you do is keep asking me why. Why am I doing this? No, we've got to get you to a point, all this stuff. And so if you don't, it's okay to have a book, but you can't say we're going to start at page 1 and end at page 100. Right. It's okay to start at page 50. Everyone's different. If you have that stuff. So, I mean, that's the way I coach. And I don't have a book, by the way. Everything's done from up here with experience and my systems that I do have and all that kind of stuff, and goes from there. But I have a funny story for everybody. The first time I ever met Bill, do you recall this story on stage?
So I do. But I don't remember it the way you approached me about it last year. And I said, I don't remember it that way, but I was prepping to speak. So I get into a zone. And so that's all I remember. It was at Expo. It was at Chimney Expo.
Yeah, the Expo 1999, I think. It's so not 99.
2019. Yeah.
2019. And so I was gonna it was the first time I was doing my mastermind roundtables. And so I was told to go up at your session, and I said no to this. I was told to go up to your session, get the microphone, and say, if anybody would like to leave here this class and come over to my awesome class, you can leave the room and come over to my mastermind. And I literally was looking at the guy telling me, and I'm not going to name drop who it was, but I was just like, I'm not doing that. And like, yeah, no, it's okay. And I'm like, oh, like I said, I didn't know anybody at the time, so I walked over. You were getting your headset already, and then Michael was sitting there doing it. And I'm like, I need a headset. I gotta say something. And I think Michael finally just really kind of, okay, just go. And then I'm sitting there talking, and I can remember this day watching your guys' face, like, who the heck is this guy? And what the hell is he saying? And I don't even know what to say, right? So I walk out. Fast forward a year later, maybe 2 years later, I don't know. And I'm at my booth, and Michael comes up. Mike comes up, and he goes and starts talking to me. And I said, you know how embarrassed I was the day I did. He goes, no, I thought. I don't remember how he said it, but he's like, I just remember you being a real asshole. And I'm like, no. I didn't know how to do that. I felt so weird to do that, but, it is what it is, But that was the first time we actually kind of, not really talked, but I knew who you guys were. And it's like, oh, yeah. I felt so sorry for that. And I have a baseball story for you. This is funny. Baseball taught me in my early 20s that I'm not Superman. And let me tell you how. So you talk about you played college ball, right?
Yeah.
Well, one of my best friends, who's now my CFO and has been for almost 20 years now, he played at OU and Baylor.
Nice.
Second base. I ended up getting hurt and out and just became an accountant, and then has worked for me ever since. Or it worked, but anyway, later on came to work for me. So we did work at a restaurant. This is where we met each other, and we were both managers, and we won like the best restaurant of the year award. So they gave us he was the GM and I was an assistant, and so we got to go. So all these other restaurants came in to take over our restaurant for an afternoon and a night, and we got to go have a party. And they gave us like $300 to go buy, hot dogs and hamburgers or whatever, to go to the park and have a party. And I told David, I said, hey, bring your glove. I want to play catch. And everybody bring your gloves. Let's see if we can, get a little, play some catch. So the gloves come out, and me and David, pair up to play catch, and we're just lobbing the ball. And so I don't know, after about maybe a couple minutes, maybe 5 or 10 throws, I decide I'm going to really throw it at him. Now I played high school ball. I mean, wasn't that great? It was okay. And I threw it as hard as I could. And I seriously probably threw him maybe 83 miles an hour, right? Maybe. That was pretty hard for me, probably. David proceeds to take about 10 steps back and throws a ball at my head. And I swear to God, and it was right on a rope, right at me. I swear to God, I got scared as that ball was coming at me. I caught it and acted like a macho man, like, oh, that was no big deal. But inside, I was a little girl going, oh, my God. And then I went to throw it back as hard as I could, which was nothing. And then he proceeds to throw a fastball. That first one wasn't. And I knew right there and then, there's a difference between pro sports and people who think they could have played pro sports. And I even on the level of probably even being a bat boy compared to what he did. I mean, it really put a perspective in my life. And that sounds funny, but I remember thinking, oh, I am not Superman, and laughing about it. And then taking that lesson into the rest of my life on a lot of things when I got to a point of thinking like that, and then bringing myself back on, this is not a David fastball in my head. I'm not that. And kind of going from there. But anyway, I thought when you struck that memory of me when you said you played college ball and stuff. But okay, so I got something for us, something that's interesting. So I watched your awesome panel. I was in the room at the conference, and Bill and I are both on different panels. He was on, what size? Were you on the small panel? the small
3 to 5, 3 to 5 trucks, the middle.
3 to 5 truck panel, and I watched it all, and there was something that, of course, I know enough about you and through the industry and stuff, and you said something that was super interesting to me, because I know how you like to be a smaller company, booked out and like that, and then you don't sell. But you said something super interesting, because I wrote it down when I was there. This is your words almost exactly. It was interesting to me that you said on stage that you could be a much larger company if you taught your guys how to sell. And I thought that was a super interesting phrase, coming from a guy who always says, we don't sell, we just inspect and let the customer, and I might be misquoting, but you say let the customer make the decision.
Yep.
And so that's Bill's philosophy and where he's at and what he does. And then I'll just kind of reiterate what my philosophy has been as I've grown my company. Is I'm the one who brought the word, and hopefully I'm going to continue to change the word from sweeps to educators in this industry. I'm the one who started calling everybody that years ago, and it's kind of caught on a little bit. I've heard a lot of people start calling their sweep sales guys or their sweeps educators. And I brought that in because the way we sell or inspect and then have a sales-ish to it at the end is because we go through the whole inspection at the best. At the time we knew it. Now we're way better now. It's with all our certifications and getting closer to be, on the level of what, if you would have trained us with everything that we've gone through and doing it right, clearancing about everything, all that kind of stuff. Needless to be said. But at the end, we're about all the questions. We're about why, what are you preventing you from purchasing? And we try to get there to be, kind and get there without being pushy salespeople at all. But you would call that sales. And I don't think sales is a bad word. I mean, I love sales. And I love the fact that, some people, especially in Texas and Oklahoma, where we're at, they need a push because they will not buy sometimes. And we need to push them. They don't need their fireplace like they do in Jersey. They can say no easily and never think about it again, unless I get them to a point of, well, if you ever want to use it. And then we have the lucky thing of the ice storm a couple years ago where people did need it. And, and we're kind of sparking some memories with that. So let's talk about our slight differences on that. And so, and I love the fact that you said not the way you coach everybody, you have to change and stuff, because there are people that are scaling their business and you choose to stay at your level because you like the way you run your business, which is nothing wrong with that. And so I like to keep scaling. I want to get to 10 million in 3 years. I mean, we're almost at 5 right now, and I want to be a $10 million company. Then that's just my goal. And so, and sales, like you said, has to be a part of my business, not just geographically, but also because it's just a way to get to $10 million. If I just left it at it's inspected and go, okay, call us whenever you want to use your fireplace, then I would only be a $1.5 million company.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah. So tell me your philosophy and where you're at, and have you helped anybody to the level of scaling it also?
Oh, absolutely. Most of the companies that I've helped they wanted a scalable model, and some of their service areas, there just aren't fireplaces. It's mostly heating flues. So we scaled on how we're going to sell more service to heating appliance flues, relines, and how we're going to re-inspect those every year as building a perpetual business through those types of things. So scaling, and then I've helped companies scale. One of the companies that I helped, and one of my really good friends in this industry, is the best salesman I know. He is a chimney guy, and he can sell anything to anybody. And his market focus is completely different than mine. And it's, they do like crazy numbers on just caps and waterproofings and crown repairs. And it's crazy numbers, the volume. And I said to him while I was coaching him the first couple of times, I know what you're doing, and good job. I'm going to ask you because there's fireplaces in this market, if you wanted to just, blow the doors off of this thing. And he said, I wouldn't have time. And I said, I get it. I totally get it. That's a good answer. But in my opinion, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Very recently, he came to me and said, we're slowing down a little bit. Let's talk about learning this fireplace thing again. Let's get back in here and do that. And I said, hey, it's never too late. We can, and you have an existing client base that you can go back and market to your new set of skills if you choose to do so. So yeah, I've helped people scale up. For me, the way I got here, it was what I saw when I was younger in this industry. Back when conventions were the only place you can get educated, late 90s, early 2000s, I met a ton of influential people. Some influenced me so positively that forever I will be grateful to them, and I'm happy that most of them are my friends today. Some influenced me in such a negative way that I use that negativity as part of my education of myself and inside of my employees. One of the lessons I learned there was when I was showing up, and I talk about this in my public speaking in the industry all the time. I was taught in the mid 90s that it's you're going to build a business that's going to be super busy and then dead slow, and then super busy and then dead slow. And I questioned that from the beginning, and I said, hey, listen, I understand you're a one truck company. Everyone was a one truck company then. Everyone was. There was no one had these big, if you had two, you were a big company, and that was status. Oh, right, a two truck company here. They're at the bar. They're buying the bar. They got two trucks. But I'm not joking. That's how it was. 1997, 98. It was if you were two trucks, you were a big company, and all these people had the same MO. Well, I like it when it slows down because I come to convention and then I go home and I clean the van in the shop, and then I fish for a month, and then I'll do some masonry work, and then I'll take the summer. And I'm thinking to myself, I want way more out of life than what these people are describing. So I started to really break it down. And Sooty Bob said, hey, sell for spring in the fall. Hey, that made sense to me. So I started doing that, and I was only selling minor things. As I got super established, people were saying yes before I could finish my explanation. I wasn't giving them prices or sales. I was educating them as to what I found. Well, when can you fix it? And it was November. Well, probably not until February. Great. Put us on your schedule. I haven't given you a price yet. Yeah, but just put us on your schedule. It's a formality. Let me at least go work a price for you. So early, and as I was young and going through the struggles of that busy, slow thing, and I couldn't get my head around it. Working 7 days a week for 5 months and then not working at all for the next 3 or 4 seemed to make no sense. I had to change that. So I started doing exactly what I just said, selling in the fall for the spring. And then I started selling bigger and bigger jobs. And somewhere along 2005, I looked at my schedule and I was 9 months of work penciled in. And everybody I knew said, that's crazy. That's stupid. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I'm probably going to lose these people. And I wasn't losing anybody. So we built the business. Every time I expanded, every time I added an employee, every time I added a truck, it was because the schedule could support that without the stress. So I guess to loop back, I was always looking at these older guys that were telling me the slow season's a good thing and thinking how stressed they must be to pay their mortgage or take their kids for ice cream. I don't want to be that guy. Like there's things I want. And I was taught an early lesson, about the value of hard work and what you get for that. And so that's always stuck with me. And I'm like, well, if I can work 12 months out of the year, I can pretty much have anything I want. And that was kind of like my mentality. So the sales mentality came from right in that area. When I was a year out, I had to stop selling. I had to just throttle down because organically we were remaining 9 months to a year out. And I didn't think that was sustainable. Honestly, I didn't 15 years ago. People just kept throwing money at us. And I had a moment in 2011 where someone called our office and said, hey, listen, we know that you're always booked and you're a triple referral to us. And so we want you to do the work on a house that we're buying. So can we book you for a week in a year right now? How much do you want to hold a week? And I said, well, okay, let's talk about the house. What kind of work do you want? Well, we don't even know what house we're buying yet. We just want you guys. And I said, I looked at my wife and I said, I think I made it. because these people want to give me money to hold them a week for a house they don't even know that they're buying, for conditions they don't even know if they have. So we've got that reputation. And I said, listen, I'm not taking your money, but let's do a handshake. Let's just say right now, you're going to use me to fix your chimney, and you're going to use me to inspect your chimney. And they said, yes, absolutely. I said, well, do it before you buy the house. Those people turned into 5 inspections before they bought a house. So they were a $1,500, $2,000 value client before they ever hired me to do $30,000 worth of restorations. And I said, this is the key, right? I'm getting a little off track, and I'm sorry for that. I know you're on time.
Let me cut you off there. You and I have
Yeah.
the habit, and I'm shocked at how well I have not interrupted you at all. I literally like to get a word in wise, but I love listening to you talk. I really do. So here's my question. As a guy that scales, as a guy that that does that, my question to you is, as knowing what I do, you said 2002 and then 2011 big time. It's 2023. So where is, if you like being booked out 9 months, where is the time, if ever, did you not try to hire enough people to at least maybe get down to 4 or 5 months? Where is, to me, forgive me, I don't want to sound this wrong, but I know how to say things wrong.
No, it's good. Yeah.
Is something wrong with the fact you don't like hiring people? Are you not good at hiring? I know we're in a industry that well, back in 2011 wasn't. Now it's harder to train because we have so many more codes that we all have a standard we all do now. 2011 we didn't have much of a standard.
That's true.
You know what I mean? But now, I mean, you could train someone in 3 weeks, put them out on a truck back then, and there's still a lot of guys doing that to this day, but it's getting. Oh, yeah. But I will say, where is Bill at? I mean, why? I mean, we see the model. You say, I mean, it does sound a little craziest, although I'm not judging. I mean, I would love to be booked out 9 months because I have a story to tell that I actually use you as a mindset thing that you didn't even know about. You didn't even know me and how I've changed my business over the last 24 months. And so, because you got to deal with Texas, we're 12 months, 24/7. We don't have a time we can't work. And if we get shut off, it's for a week,
Right.
and then it dries up and we can work. So I've never come into this business, thankfully, not knowing the guys that, we take off and all that horse crap, because we're able to work, almost 52 weeks a year. So I don't have that deal, so which is harder because I have the mentality of you don't have to use it. It's warm. We're still selling chimney repairs at 110 degrees,
Yep.
and there's something to be said about that and having to maintain a business with that environment. And so why haven't you scaled with the employee thing? And I don't mean on a level of me where you have to have 40 or 50 employees, but I mean, why haven't you at least brought in 4 or 5 people?
Well, that's what I have. I have 5. And at one point
10?
I had.
Why haven't you gotten to 10? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I did. I did in 2006. I had 11 employees, and I learned some lessons. I failed through that. We had the highest numbers we ever had, the lowest profit margin we ever had, and I had to put out so many fires, not even for legitimate things. So it was a very strange experience for me because I thought I was pushing into a really successful place in my life, but it was a backward step. And as I had some attrition of that group of people, I realized I was unprepared to be bigger. So I got down to 7, and I'm like, this is the sweet spot. And we were still booked out like crazy. And I said, okay, this is where we're going to stay. And then I lost 2 guys, and one to a career. He was training the whole time. It was known he was going to be a 3-year employee when I hired him.
Right.
And he was training for that career, and he finally finished and he left. And after that, I had such a hard time finding the right person. I was hiring good people. They just weren't fit for the chimney industry. So they were dragging us down. 2 of my employees have been with me 22 plus years, which is incredible. Those guys were like running the show in the background, and we were adding people in, and I couldn't find I personally couldn't find a sweet spot higher than 7. Right now I'm at 5. It's the sweetest spot we've ever had. And it's, as far as profit margins, um, and production, everything is just smooth. And so when I realized that, um, I'm able to, with 5, and this is me, so I don't want people, if someone watching this who's an employee somewhere going, well, I want to get paid more money because I'm in a smaller company. It doesn't necessarily work that way. But I'm able to pay my people super, super well because there's 5 of us. And
Right.
so we are very boutique. We do restorations, we do, things that not every homeowner is going to call us for. So we've developed this relationship with our consumer public. We've developed it with our referral sources. I don't spend any money on marketing. So, and we're doing, really great numbers for that. And every time I think about growing, I just, I think I'm 48, and I'm thinking, I don't see the point. We're doing that well at this. We found our sweet spot. And that's the best way I can answer that, is that I had aspirations of being 10, 12 trucks in 2005, 2006. I was ramping up to that. I was getting to a place where it made sense. I had the staff in place to push to the next level, but it just never seemed like it was right for me after that one experience. And literally, I had an accountant at the end of the year call me up and say, "Congratulations, you have fantastic numbers. You got to write a $60,000 check to the government." And I'm like, "That's all I have left." He's like, "Congratulations, you just learned a very important business lesson. You made $0 for all your work." And I
Yeah.
said, "What?" I made $0. I went home. I said to my wife, "We made $0. We made $0." I mean, at the end of the day, honestly, that's what we did. And that was a little bit of me being green. I was still young. I mean, you know, we had also had a kid. We had our third kid, unexpected. He's not planned. Obviously, thank goodness for Will. He's the best thing. He was the puzzle piece that was missing in our family. But the we had Will inside all this, so I was backing away while I was trying to grow, which was a mistake. So if anybody watching, you need to be hands-on until you have all the pieces in place before you step aside and go to your lateral things. And I
Right.
was trying to do too many things at one time, and I learned my lesson, which is how I got back to this sweet spot, because it just made perfect sense for us with the numbers we're at, with our location, with our the way that consumers view us. And this is the real key. So this is my last point on this. We are a family business. So my dad started it. I run it. My 2 employees, one was the best man at my wedding, the other one's godfather to one of my kids. My oldest son works in the business now. The other guy's been with me 12, 13 years. My wife answers the phones. People expect that. And the more we add, the further it gets away from it feeling like family. So we've had people call us up and go, "I don't like your new guy. He's not part of the family." We've literally had that input. And I had to learn early, when I added someone new, I had to ride with them for a while to introduce to all our referral realtors and home inspectors. "Hey, this is so and so. He's with us now. He's part of the family." I would introduce him like that. "Oh, are you a cousin?" But it was just a mentality. It's like we
Right.
had to build that. So that's the other part. We built a boutique business off of the family ownership, which, by the way, in the business world is a big mistake. Family-based business is not marketable. I can't sell this thing. I can sell it to my kids, right? That's it. But that was never the plan anyway. My plan was never to build it up and sell it. So I'm okay with that. But if someone is, and we're dealing with a lot as a consultant, and you probably are too, a lot of this 60-plus-year-old business owners going, "Okay, I want to sell my business," and you got to look at them and say, "You got to put 7 or 8 more years in to get this right before you can sell it for anything." And that's what I'm seeing. I did 5 or 6 of those in the last couple of years. Well, right after pandemic, it was very busy with, we need to do some succession planning, and great. And I go in there, I'm like, "What do you have?" And they're looking at 40 years of selling wood stoves, and they're like, "Well, we have these great sales numbers." "Great, let's see your books." "Well, the books don't match the great sales." Listen, I get it. I get it. I get it. I understand. Everyone that started a chimney business in 1977 was doing so to get away from something. You're right. And,
Yeah.
and so I understand. I totally get it. But we can't sell it. It's not worth anything. And I've worked with some of these business brokers, and they're like, I can't get 20 grand for this business.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my job to help them get to a marketable $250,000 sale, which they expecting to be 2 million. Right.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
mean,
interesting.
I've had my business evaluated here in the last 2 years, and it was okay. I couldn't really. I pretty much got dollar for dollar for my well, no, I was at about, I'm sorry, not dollar for dollar. I was at about, well, I'll just tell you. So I did last year, I did 4.3 million, and I had it evaluated at the beginning of last year when we were only at 3.8, and I could sell it for 2.5. Now that's because I'm a non-existent owner. I don't work there. I don't have an office there. It runs. I mean, I hate saying it runs itself because it clearly does not run itself. My management runs the company,
Right.
and I mean, so, but I got that. And then after I pay the debt, because, I'm big on buying new trucks. And so I was, after I paid the government, I was going to have like maybe $600,000, $700,000. Okay, I'm 51. I didn't realize I was your senior, but I'm 51. And if I were to have sold my company, let's say in the last year, I'd have 600,000 in the bank, which sounds great, but that ain't shit. You can't.
Not enough.
And my coaching money, and I have a marketing company now. Yes, I can pay the bills off that, but now I'm just trading job. Now I'm trading one thing for another, and there's nothing there. So I mean, for 600 grand, I mean, I don't quite make that out of the Chimney company, but I do a little more than half of that. So and I just got to keep letting them do their job and building it. And so I mean, that's how my business runs. And so, but to the scaling thing, it is, because I've done it and I'm still doing it. There is a lot of setbacks if you don't learn how to do it right. And I've done it wrong a lot. And I've gone through a lot of pain. My wife and I have gone through a lot of pain. A lot of people. As a matter of fact, while we were talking, I got a text from one of my clients that someone should be kicked off of Chimney World. And while you were talking, I just quickly looked to see who made some goofy comment on one of my posts in Chimney World. A former employee that was literally fired, and I won't go into why. It is what it is, and says that I'm a bad guy. It's like, okay, so this is when you talk about scaling. I mean, you have those things, and you trying to find the right people, especially when you're scaling at my level and going higher. It's hard. I mean, you gotta have specialized people to find the right people to be in the family, because we're a family company too. My mom works in the call center still to this day. My wife did. She's retired now, but she did. My stepdad works there. My general manager is my stepdad's best friend, who I've known 20 some years. I told you my CFO I've known him since I was 20. I mean, we are a family unit. As a man, we just brought in a COO above everybody, and so he started about 3 weeks ago, and we don't know how it works, but it's, he's gonna start making some accountability. The biggest thing about, after I left, John, my general manager, is total boss on operations. But he's also he can fire anyone at will, not a problem. But he's also his hurtful, or not, his weaknesses are accountability on some things. But some of the things that I'm good at are his weakness. So like when we were together, I mean, it wasn't bad cop, good cop, but it was, Chad doesn't like the shop messy. Chad likes the trucks clean. John was a messy guy in his truck. And so obviously the CEO shows up, our trucks are a freaking bomb. They look like shit. They just do. And so I had a meeting with him last week. He goes, "Oh, we're cleaning these trucks up." That's like, as soon as I get these trucks are going to start getting, this is where this goes. This is where that goes, And Masons, I have 4 Mason crews working for me. They are the biggest slobs ever.
Yeah.
I mean, and so we bought a 5-acre property, is just North Texas, where we put our corporate office, and that's where all the trucks parked that are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so these guys we have a little spot. You would think it should just be, maybe a little bit bigger than a couple big dumpsters full of brick and stuff that we can clean up. And they've created an acre of spots to dump. And the CEO is like, he's freaking out. I'm like, thank you. I just kind of knew this is where we were going. Good job, going to try to fix all this stuff up. And so, but yeah, I mean, but scaling, it is not for everybody. It is not. It is.
No.
It is. You'll get burned more than you're successful with employees 100% of the time. Because when you're hiring 5 versus 1, you'll be lucky if 4 or 1 works out of the 5. You'll be really lucky to get 2. And you're constantly going through all that on top of the training that you're doing with everybody. Which luckily with crews with me, I've got all my guys are certified. They're all good with that. So I get to put them on a truck, and then they get to just osmosis as they go, and then they can take all their stuff later. But I mean, they're learning that way. It's the educator position, the sweep position, which is very hard for us. It is so hard because in my world, like I said, you've got to have it. You cannot walk in there and do a perfect inspection and walk out with getting any money. It won't happen in Texas. And I'll give you the perfect example. We had a guy in Houston, sweet older guy, probably like 54, 55 years old. Perfect inspections. I mean, perfect. Clearance combustibles, measurements, here, there. I mean, he filled out our inspection form on tops. I mean, and couldn't sell $10,000 a week. And it just was, and we had to let him go. It was heartbreaking because we tried to work on closing and just everything else. And you definitely walked in. He had the gray hair. He could climb roofs. He did everything right, but he could not get anyone to sign the dotted line. Wow. So, I mean, it was and he's not the first one that I've dealt with like that. I've had a lot of guys that would do the paperwork great. When you talk to them, they know their responses. They know how to talk Chimney. They know how to present the inspection. They just can't get people to buy. It's sad because if they could just get the right questions to get them to buy, I mean, and get good. I think a little bit of it is some of these people are just uncomfortable with the sales portion of it. It's like is getting that to people is hard, because and I don't like how people preach that we don't sell in the chimney industry. Well, come bring your business to Texas. I guarantee you $500,000 a year. I don't care who you are. If you don't learn to sell here in Texas, you're not going to be a good chimney company here because you just got to push some people because it's like, you have to remind, and we never say and scare people into it. It is all about a conversation. It's about, well, do you like to use your fireplace? What would happen if electricity does go out? What happens? We have another ice storm. I'm not saying, you better get it fixed or you might freeze to death because the ice storm might come. We're not saying that, but we're asking, well, what did you do during the ice storm a couple years ago? And then you hear a story because we had rolling lights out stuff, power outages. And so, my daughter in Houston, she was a teacher down there. She's back up here to Dallas now for 1 year, but she went down there. Now Houston isn't even half as prepared as Dallas is, which is 0. So imagine what Houston is like. I mean, they don't even have generators down there, or things like that. And so they were literally, so she went over to a friend's house, there was like 4 teachers and their husbands, and they literally, everybody brought blankets. They didn't have a fireplace at this other house. None of the people had a fireplace. And they literally piled up 15 blankets, and they all got in this twin king size bed for 4 days. Oh. The house in Tamara, the house was 34 degrees.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Time us, and they'd all be in there. It was terrible. And so, I mean, it was that bad. And so so luckily we have this experience to kind of knock with people out, but you can't just present an inspection in Texas and Oklahoma. You've got to help them understand for one reason you call this for a reason. So know your fireplace is on your mind. You want to use it. Well, we presented the inspection better than anybody else. We've got the video. We've gone in the attic. We've showed you the discrepancies with what it should be. Okay. Now, and then we end up giving them a $15,000, $25,000 bid, right? Whatever, to relining or whatever, put a stainless steel liner in, rebuild it, whatever we got to do. and all this kind of stuff. And then what we deal with a lot, and I know a lot of people do, but really in Texas, because there's so few people that know what they're doing, we got this other estimate for $3,500. I'm like, okay, well, let's apple to oranges that. Did they have a camera? Are they certified? Do they even know what this little orange book is called? They did P211. Do they have? Did they even show that to you? You know, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And so we have to like fight off all the guys that literally don't even know what the CSIA even is or NCSG. They have no clue. We have more of that in Dallas Fort Worth than any time ever in the life I've lived here. And we have to literally explain people. So let me tell you how you've helped my business that you didn't even know. Let me take a little drink here, everybody. Kind of Rush Limbaugh now. Kind of paper, all that. Take a drink. Okay. So, I'm good friends with Stoner. He's been a big mentor of mine. He's got a big business. Then I see you, the way you run your business, you're 9 weeks out. We have a discrepancy in philosophy. No big deal. So in Texas, we inadvertently did we slowed down thing because we just slowed down. So we sold a big job. We could do it, right?
Right.
We weren't selling November for March and April because we could do it.
Right.
We didn't have to wait to go do it. So for 25 years or 24 years, we played the slinky game with slow down, get busy, slow down, get busy. And I mean, it was unintentional, but that's what we did. And of course, the more education we get, it got a little bit better, but then it never was solved. So I used to like to stay booked around 1.5 to 3 weeks. And I started listening and hearing some stuff that you'd said, and I started going, all right, well, the 9 months is crazy for me. That's not ever going to happen. But what would it be like if I was 2 months booked, which is 2.5, 3 times what I normally am, right? What if I could get there all year round? And so we started last year. We really started. We've had Alan Rush's help, and we've really we've done a lot of good. We got 4 Mason companies, trucks in Dallas now, and which we only had 1 before. And we really started concentrated on really doing the bigger jobs. And like you, it just morphed over 2 years into, we went into Christmas this year, booked until April.
Nice.
That's never happened for us. And I just this morning talked to David. And we've caught up a little bit because February, March aren't real big sales weeks or months. And so I talked to my CFO this morning. So how are the numbers? I talk to him every day, but how are we? He goes, well, we've never made money in April, ever. Well, not only are we going to make money in April, we're already half booked in May right now.
All right.
With the 3rd week, we only have to put on like 15,000 on the books for the 3rd week to break even. So May is another month where we have made money in April and May, but there's this asterisk. If we had a hailstorm in March, we made money in May. Not had a storm this year. We had a little one, but it wasn't enough because all the chimney caps get dented. Like we have crazy hail here. So every 4 or 5 years, we'll have a really good hailstorm, and we can really do almost $1 million worth of work if we get one now. Well, we haven't had one now since we scaled to what we know now. So it's been 5 or 6 years since a big hailstorm. If we get a big hailstorm now, I think it could be a $2 million storm for us for what we know now. I mean, without even having, I would turn in a bill at that time where I might book out 9 months because of what's going to come from it. And so we haven't had one. So we're really praying for one, but we haven't quite gotten there yet to have one. But we have made success to where we're having the best. Everyone's talking about recession. What is going to happen? And me and you could get into politics, and we're not because we know how we both feel exactly the same. But we in Texas, we're not feeling it because of our model, because of what we've changed to how we're doing stuff. And I give kudos to Master Services, Cody Whitwood, John Mashad, and all these guys, David and Brian. They are really working what we've for 2 years put in place. And now we've hired a COO to really even ramp us up even more. And I'm super proud of these guys and everyone below them, where we're going and what we're doing. And And I can tell you, I have never, ever sat with a first quarter P&L, made money.
Really?
Never.
So that's
Never.
the thing, man. It's so nice. It's job security. It you look down and your guys know that they're going to work. It's just a nice place to be, especially coming out of Christmas break. I mean, to have that has always been a goal of mine. Even when I was a young chimney guy, like I want to come out of Christmas, but I want to be able to enjoy Christmas, not stress about money on the backside of that. And that's been one of the blessings. And a couple other things that have happened. I mean, I'm in the New York City suburbs, so people spend stupid money on stupid things, right? Not always fireplaces. It just depends on what the trends are. They're very trendy people, right? But Hurricane Sandy in 2012, and we had a rainstorm. I think it was Lloyd or Lance or something the year before that. Those two storms generated insurance contacts that were booking us out a year because of the amount of people that they had. So that's the other part where we started to build even further on that, because they were asking, well, our adjuster can't get there for 7 months. Can we book August 4th? Sure, absolutely. And that was crazy to me before that, but I'm like, absolutely. And August 3rd, I'm confirming with the guy, yeah, I just flew in. You're coming, right? Yeah, see you at 10 o'clock, and we became the go-to for those types of things. So the natural disasters helped us bolster the numbers, and really we've never looked back. But funny, one of my record month ever was a February, the shortest working month of the year. We put up our biggest number ever. And I said, it wasn't this February, but I said to myself, if we did that in February, and this was like 2013 or 2014, I said, there is nothing that could ever stop us, because October, well, usually one of my least numbers, because it's all service stops.
Yeah.
And so it does bring the numbers down. But the perspective change was so important. And I teach that when I'm speaking in front of people, like, just change your perspective. Think about not the busy season being your profitable center, it being the seeds for your profit first and second quarter. And if you can do that, you're always going to have, hopefully, a plus sign on your P&L all the way through. That's the goal. I mean, if you can have 4 profitable quarters, you're doing better than most people in any business anywhere. I mean, it's you look at retail, they have 1 profitable quarter to support 12 months of expenses. They have 1 profitable quarter. That's all they need. If we can do it 4 times, we're doing pretty well. So it's just the mentality. It's the perspective change. I've always been a big believer.
I'm going to change our perspective a little bit, and I'll tell you what I did. So in October of last year, I mean, just a few months back, I told my management team in a meeting that I ended up showing up to, their level 10 meeting on a Tuesday, which I normally don't go to. I showed up and I said, I got an objective for everybody. January 1, we're getting our bills down to 60,000 a week, and at the time we were at like 84. And they're like,
some fat.
They're like not possible. I said, well, here's how it's going to be possible. Not only are you guys going to figure it out, but I will tell you right now, you have everything on the table. My salary, my wife's salary, your salary, everything is on the table to get to 60. And if you don't do it, I'm coming in and I'm going to make it happen. So make it happen. So the first week of January came. I made that phone call to David, my CFO. I go, what are our bills? He goes, 62 grand. I said, perfect.
Wow.
I said, isn't that funny how you guys did that? And I never made them completely accountable to the P&L. So now I did. And this is another part. And guess what? We're doing better numbers than last year. We did not have a strong enough winter as we normally do. But I think part of it was because we were booking them out. And, and maybe in other years, we might have been a little bit more staffed. Let me tell you that. We were staffed better to equip some of these bigger jobs. But I love the way our winter went last year, our fall and winter this year, to where we were booked out through the spring. And we're floating into, spring, into summer soon, where I think we're going to be putting up positive numbers every month. That's
awesome.
Never happened for us. Never. I mean,
that's awesome. That's great.
Bad the numbers were, and I've said this before, so I'm not really. If you've listened to the podcast, you know this. We will sometimes enter into June 2 $750,000 down for the year. $250,000. So I learned a long time ago how to save money. So I mean, I saved up $400,000 to $600,000, what we call our nut money, so I could withstand those hits and then build it back. Well, the problem was it was never really. I mean, I once you start scaling, I would lose that money, and then I'd only make that money back, maybe a little bit more, but I never seemed to grow. I always just seemed to maintain over the last 5 years, which is not the way to do the business. And so I also did one other thing that every sweep says that they could do, they wish they could do, and I'm here to tell you, don't do it, because it ain't gonna happen. Is everyone always says, if I had 20 trucks running in the fall and everybody was trained, I would be such a multi-millionaire. I'd just be so rich. So we tried that in 21 or 22. We tried that last year. So last year in June, we started hiring and training. So we got our bills up to the $84,000, $85,000 deal when we didn't need anybody yet.
Right.
I mean, and so, but we thought we're going to make all this money back come September through February. Didn't happen. And so, I mean, I'm here to tell you that that's not, the method. The method is, definitely a part of sell it. If you do it, great, but keep selling the bigger jobs. Know your job to where you're going to get the bigger jobs. That's where I think a lot of people are. They don't understand their inspection enough to understand that it is not just sometimes a relining. Sometimes it is a teardown. Yeah. I mean, it is. And I think a lot of people, well, not only do they not have the masons, they haven't tried to go get them. They don't understand that there are a lot of chimneys that need to be torn down, especially here in Texas. We got foundation problems. Here, we're on a couple slabs that move all the time here, and we show up. I mean, we don't so much have a clearance and combustible issue. We've got a leaning issue, a separation issue. We have that, and so separating from the house and all this kind of stuff. So in the old days, we didn't even hire underneath the foundation, jack it back up and tuck point it. No, we don't do any of that anymore. Tear that sucker down, redo the foundation, and do it right. And so. We're on a $110,000 job right now. We never would have done that 2 years ago. Even 2 years ago, we wouldn't have done it. Right. And so stuff like this. So I think if you're a listener and you're a smaller company, I don't necessarily mean you got to go and be like me, but me and Bill, I think, have a very similar model of what we do. And that is the bigger jobs. And the bigger jobs don't come because we go out and try to sell them. The chimney tells the story, and they end up needing it. We don't sell anything they don't need, but a lot of the companies out there, they just don't see what they're really not, what they really could be, doing, and there's nothing wrong with selling a $40,000 job if it's a $40,000 job, right? I mean, it just is what it is, and instead of
the back win.
Yeah, and so I said let's talk for 30 minutes. I knew we wouldn't have a problem talking longer. I said to Bill before we started recording, we're going to do 30. If we go to 45 minutes, great. We're almost at an hour now, so I know me and Bill could keep talking. I think we were striking up a friendship where we could talk a lot. And so for everybody out there listening, we're going to cut it short, and I'm sure I can talk to Bill to have another time here in the next year to be back on, and we'll continue. So if anything else, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
I enjoy this relationship. I can't wait to get to know you more and stuff like that. So with that, any final words from you? Anything you want to say to everybody out there?
Hey, keep on keeping on. This industry will give you what you put into it. So I'm a big believer in following that path, and this chimney industry is a gifted place to be doing business. So keep on keeping on.
All right, guys. Everyone, thank you very much. Thank you, Bill, for coming on, and we will see you guys on the flip side.
Thanks, Chad.